God had enough sovereignty inside of him to heal the woman with the issue of blood. But her human responsibility required her to get to him and grab the hem of the garment. And so his whole point was, we can't absolve ourselves from human responsibility. And what we like to do, especially church folk, we like to pray about it and, oh, the Lord's going to do, and we want to wake up to blessings, overflow, abundance. But the action is required by us. That's our human responsibility. So I want to meet you at the point of your desire and your discipline. That's the crossroad. That's the crossroad. I want to meet you at the point of your desire and your discipline.
Welcome to another episode of the Build My Bridge podcast. What's going on? I'm your host, Harry Dick III, joined as always by the bridge builder himself, Zach Brewster.
What's going on, Harry?
Talk to the people.
Man, we're excited, man. Listen, thank you for the support. Thank you for following us. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to share some words with you that hopefully impacts your lives and makes you motivated to do something different, to do something better, to grow a little bit more. And if you're already at a high level, get somebody on the level with you. You know, don't stay at the high level by yourself. You know, share these words and these podcasts with people that you think would be interested in going to another level. And so, with that being said, Harry, it's time to talk, man.
What you got for us,
man? You know, it's some things that have been on my mind. I actually shared it this morning on my live on Motivational Monday. This whole idea of seeing it and believing it. And the last thing I said was that you have to align your communication. And so today I want to talk about the war of words. I suggest that many of us are at conflict with what we say we want and what we actually say.
That's good.
And so we wake up and we say we want that, we go after something, but our speaking, our communication is often at conflict and contradictory to what we say we want. And so, you know, Harry, I want to get your thoughts on this, and just like we always do, just have a dialogue about it. And, you know, welcome to our conversation. You know, the first type of words I want to talk about are affirming words. Because I think until you affirm you, there will always be challenges. So talk to me about affirming words, Harry.
Yeah, man, Zach, that's powerful. It's powerful that you came up with this idea of the war with our words. And when we think about the affirming, when we think about, because I look at affirming in two ways, right? Okay. I look at affirming of what am I speaking over myself, and then what am I speaking over other people.
Yes, sir.
And so I believe when it comes to affirming, you know, you have to be careful that you're not having that stinking thinking. You have to be careful that you're not having that bad language. You got to be careful that you're not speaking things even though your situation doesn't look like what you think it should look like. So when I affirm myself, I like to already say that I am a champion, even if it looks like I'm losing in the third round of the fight. I like to say things like, I am enough, even when I don't feel like there's enough of me to go around for everybody. And so when I think of affirming yourself, I would want to tell somebody to make sure that you are allowing yourself the bandwidth and the freedom, that word, make sure you're allowing yourself that freedom to express yourself even when it doesn't look like. And this kind of brings me to that idea of faith and walking by faith and not by sight.
That's right.
That's really my 2026 declaration, is that even though I don't see it happening, I know that I'm sowing seeds in the ground. And sometimes you got to be careful in life, because I've realized and I've learned that some people not going to come until the harvest is near. Some people not going to come until the harvest is here. And so when you're in this place and you're in a position of your life where you're just putting seed in the ground, where you're just steady planting, where you're just steady sowing, and you're not seeing anything yet, it can be frustrating sometimes. It can be discouraging sometimes. It can be disappointment sometimes. But in that reality of knowing that there is a harvest coming, you got to get to a place in your life where you can say that I'm going to sow even when I don't see the harvest. I'm going to sow even when I don't see anything. And I'm going to believe that everything that I'm doing is going to lead up to something great.
You know, one of my favorite stories to tell is about one of my uncles. He was excited because he couldn't wait for his cabbage to harvest.
Wow.
He kept talking about he wanted cabbage. He kept telling y'all this is gonna be the best cabbage y'all ever tasted. The problem was when the harvest came, he had planted collard greens, and so he forgot what he put in the ground. And might I suggest that some of you are getting frustration and you thought you were going to get a better future. But what happened was you spoke about a bright future, but you really have been planning frustration every day.
Wow.
You've been saying things like, I hate my job. You've been saying things like, oh, I'm tired this morning. You've been saying things like, I don't feel like filling the blank. You've been saying things like, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any. You've been saying things like, oh, everything is going to hell in a handbasket in the world. So what happens is, when harvest time comes, I'm glad you said harvest, you are pulling things out of the ground that you didn't want.
Yes, sir.
So you're wondering why I pulled that layoff notice. You're wondering why I pull a sickness. You're wondering why I pull stress out of the ground. You're wondering why my crop is filled with anxiety. It's because that's what you've been planting. And just like my uncle couldn't get cabbage out of a collard green seed, you can't get success out of a negative seed.
Oh, come on.
That you got to get yourself to a place the way you perpetually plant. And when you plant, you got to take care of your field. Like you said,
yes, sir.
Some people are only going to show up when they see something harvested, but you know what you put in the ground. One thing I will give him credit for, he knew that there was something in the ground.
Come on.
And because he knew that there was something in the ground, he was out there watering it. He was out there pulling up weeds. I remember when animals would be back there in the backyard, because see, I couldn't see nothing. And I was like, why are you mad about them animals? He said, I can't let them get into the stuff that I got in the ground, so he would shoo them away. And I'll get that a little later, but sometimes you're going to have to shoo people away. You're going to have to shoo people away before they even see what's inside of you, because they don't deserve to be around when the harvest comes. And so, I like what you said about affirming words, and not only are you affirming yourself, but you're affirming others around you. And so, let me say this though, I'm always the first to say, I appreciate affirmation. I love vision boards. I love sticky notes on our mirrors. I love the I am statements. I don't want to pass over that, because when you say an I am statement, you actually start to embody that thing before you ever even see it happen.
Yes,
but I can't get so caught up in affirmation that I forget action. And so, Harry, what I really want to get into is not just affirming words, but action words. And I really feel that somebody watching this, you got enough affirmation to be drunk on it. But have you taken action? Talk to us about action words, Harry.
I'm trying to get off of this harvest and this planting. And one of the things I was thinking about as you was talking, Zach, you got to stop planting poverty and expecting to harvest wealth. You got to stop planting toxicity and expecting to harvest health. So when you think about getting into a place of action, the thing that separates affirmation and action now, and I want to talk to somebody in 2026, because I really feel like this is about to be the transformative point for you in this year, is understanding the difference between saying and doing.
Please stay right there. That's what I want you to get to.
Understanding the difference between saying and doing. So I can say all day that I want to see said thing, that I am said thing, right? But am I doing the things to allow me to be that thing? Am I writing the pages of the book to say that I'm going to be an author? Am I investing weekly or investing monthly to say that I'm going to be a millionaire? Am I fixing my credit to say that I'm going to buy the house? There has to become a place in life where delusion has to stop. And you got to get to a place in your life where you say, I'm not just going to keep talking about it. I'm going to start doing something. I'm going to start moving in it. I'm going to start actually putting some hands to the plow. He said the diligent hands. You got to have some diligent hands in this season. And you got to understand, whenever you can get to a place when you get around people that are not just talking about it, that are actually doing it. This is why you start to see that there are invitation-only events. I want to talk to somebody right now for you to understand there's a reason you're not getting invited to certain tables. It's because you have nothing to show for it. I remember hearing a quote one time, because we've been lied to sometimes when we think about this saying of, it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. Well, let me take that a step further. Who knows you?
That part.
Who knows you?
That's the part.
And what do they know you for? Do they know you for talking? Do they know you for gossiping? Do they know you for being the person that says that, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that? There are some of y'all who need to log off of Facebook. Some of y'all need to log off of Instagram. Some of y'all need to log off Snapchat and TikTok and LinkedIn, because all you do is post about what you're going to do, and then 6 months go by and you ain't did nothing yet. You still posting about that book you're going to write. You still posting about that stage you want to take. You still posting about that business that you was going to start. You was talking about that in 2022. It's 2026. You got to get get to a place in your life where you stop talking and you start doing.
Yeah, Harry, the action piece is so powerful, and we can't have a podcast and not talk about faith, because faith is the fabric of our lives. This morning I was scrolling through Instagram, and I ran across a clip of Dr. E. Dewey Smith, and he said something that just grabbed me. He talked about the difference between God's sovereignty and human responsibility. Wow. And his point was going back to this delusion thought that you had, that we try to escape human responsibility. So affirmation is one of those things that we put in the atmosphere to attract things and to get ourselves built up to do things. But there is still human responsibility.
Come on.
And it aligns our actions with our affirmations.
Come on.
And so what he talked about was, it grabbed my attention. He said, God had enough sovereignty inside of him to heal the woman with the issue of blood. But her human responsibility required her to get to him and grab him in the garment. And so his whole point was, we can't absolve ourselves from human responsibility. And what we like to do, especially church folk, we like to pray about it and, oh, the Lord's going to do, and we want to wake up to blessings, overflow, abundance. But the action is required by us. That's our human responsibility. So I want to meet you at the point of your desire and your discipline. That's the crossroad. That's the crossroad. I want to meet you at the point of your desire and your discipline. And I want to tell you that you have human responsibility.
Yes, sir.
So yes,
you just
I can say I am in perfect health. As a matter of fact, that's one of my affirmations. I say it every morning. I am in perfect health. But in order for that action to align with that affirmation, I go to the gym every morning at 5 a.m. because I declare I'm in perfect health, and then I discipline myself to obtain that perfect health. So I can't just say I'm in perfect health and lay in the bed and eat candy all day and not move at all. I have to align my actions with my affirmation. So your action words have to actually be words and works. Don't just give me action words. I want to see your action works. And so the war that goes on is between that decision of saying and doing like Harry said, and we got to get you past this war of words. I want to say this to you in the camera directly. You can win this war.
Come on.
You can win this war.
You can win this war.
You can win this war. But you're going to have to affirm and you're going to have to act. And number 3, Harry, you're going to have to be aware.
Zach, but before you get on that aware, something dropped in my spirit about something you preached a while back, and then I need for you to break this down to somebody, because when you said the one with the issue of blood, you made me instantly, it triggered something in my mind, that spiritual memory. You talked about making your move. I need for you to break this down for somebody in 2026. I know what it did for me, and I need for you to talk to this point right here. You said making your move when it's uncertain, when it's unpopular, when it's uncomfortable, and when it's unorthodox. Please talk to us about 2026, making our move, even with those 4 things going on.
Well, first of all, uncertainty is a part of life. And so, listen, we don't want this to go over anybody's head. We love every audience, but this is for my faith audience specifically. That faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So the very nature of faith is to be uncertain when you start moving. So the whole idea of moving in faith is moving in the midst of uncertainty. Now, the problem with church, and I say this all the time, and people say, why did you start a church? Because I had a problem with church. Is you have to be willing to move when it's unpopular. And we live in a perpetual popularity contest. Which is why you say things like log on Facebook, log on Instagram, because we're worried about likes.
Come on.
And I'm not worried about likes. I'm worried about getting to the next level. So I could care less whether you like how I move. I got to get to the next level. Then when you start talking about unorthodox movement is moving in a way that you've never moved before. Wow. Let me take a turn right here, Harry. There's a guy the other day, I think I sent this to you, and I wish I had his name because I would like to give credit to people that say things. He told us to stop using words like hard. And he said use words like unfamiliar. He said it's not easy or hard. It's just familiar or unfamiliar.
That's good.
So when I move in an unorthodox way, I'm moving in a way that's unfamiliar to me. But here's the big thing, and if your wife get on me, it's Harry's fault. You said something. You said she's working on something that she's going to be the first in her family to ever accomplish it. she's moving into unfamiliar territory. And it's going to seem unorthodox to her because she's never seen anybody in her bloodline moving that way.
Wow.
So when you move in an unorthodox way, don't call it hard, just call it unfamiliar.
Yes,
it's an unfamiliar pathway to me. And so so when you make your move, you got to be willing to move when you're uncertain. You'll never move if you wait to certainty. You got to be willing to move when it's unpopular. I don't need nobody to pat me on the back. As a matter of fact, I want to move in such a way that your hand ain't even close enough for me to touch my back. And then I got to be willing to move in an unorthodox way, even though it's unfamiliar to me. It's not hard, it's just unfamiliar. And so those are the ways that we make our move, Harry, is that it's okay to move when it's uncertain. It's okay to move when it's unpopular. It's okay to move when it's unorthodox. And it's not hard, it's just unfamiliar. It's just unfamiliar. Did I touch on that like you wanted to do? Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park. My bad.
So, awareness. The thing I want you to be mindful of when we talk about the war of words and awareness is that don't always pay attention to what people are saying. I want you to also pay attention to what they're not saying. I've had to learn this the hard way. That there are people, if you listen to them long enough, watch their movements, and listen to their words, it's not only what they say, but what they don't say. There are people in moments where they should be congratulating you that they're questioning you. There are people in moments where they should be supporting you, that they are using words that really mean that they're abandoning you. I don't need people in my circle that use our language. I need people in my circle that use we language.
I love it.
So talk to me, Harry, about when you're trying to change your circle, when you're trying to figure out who belongs at the table. You said everybody's not invited. What are the things you need to be listening for to be aware of who should or should not be there with you?
I read a book one time. I don't have the name of it on the top of my head, but I remembered in the book it talked about this idea of using a shared language and having a shared vision. And so when I think about the language that people are using and the language that people are not using, because one of the things that I've been learning over this little journey that I've been on is that silence can be loud, and that can be good or bad. There's an appropriate time to use silence, and there's a time to speak up and use your voice. And so for when you're in a season of really stewarding something bigger than you, when you are entrusted because you've been faithful with little, and now he's showing you how to rule over many, there are certain people, because of their fears, because of their doubt, because of their unbelief, they will find themselves using language that would oftentimes have you looking at them different, because you would be thinking in your heart, and I'm very intentional with not getting excited on this part, because this is very serious things that we're talking about when we deal with awareness. Like there are some people who will project their fears on you. They will project their doubt on you. They will project the things that they don't even believe that's really possible for you, but you know what God said. And I think that's the thing that you have to start really looking for when you're connecting with certain people. Is like, are we walking to the same faith level? Are we walking to the same Genesis to Revelation level? Like, are we walking to, do you really believe what you read? And let me just go ahead and put that on the table and deal with that. Do you really believe what you're reading? Are you reading this as a narrative, or are you reading this as a living word? Because I know when I read that I walk by faith and not by sight, when I read that he's going to do exceedingly and abundantly above all I could ask for according to the power that's working within us, then it don't even make me no difference what we start with, because I know where he's taking us. I know, even, come here, Abram, even when he tells me to go somewhere and I don't know the details, I don't know the coordinates, I don't know what's all entailed and where I'm going, I understand in my life that he's going to make provision for the vision. And when you understand that he's going to make provision for the vision, then you can get yourself to a place of thinking and understanding that the right people is going to be around me for that provision, because that's part of the vision. And so now I'm looking for and I'm listening for the things that will help me stay strong in the season, the things that will encourage me in this season, the things that will keep my spirit uplifted in my season. Because I always go back to this verse in the Bible that says bad company corrupts good character. And I don't always look at that in a form of behavior. I look at that as a form of talking, because the power of the tongue hold life and death, and those who love it shall eat its fruit. And so if your tongue is speaking death over our dream, over our destiny, over our vision, then what are we talking about for real? And why are you talking around me? I don't want to hear that negative talk. I don't want to hear what about what we can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. Yes. Let's put our resources together. Let's put our connections together. Let's come to the table. And there's a certain reason that certain people are not on certain committees.
Ooh.
See, there's some people asking why they not on the flyer. There's some people asking why they didn't hit them up, why they not involved. Because everybody, I want to say this slowly. Everybody can't be invited to the main meeting. When I was sitting down with a very influential person, he told me something powerful. And it made me even think about how we do some things and how we operate in some things. There's a meeting before the meeting.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of times where you got to get to a place that your language and that your awareness becomes so fruitful and it becomes so inspiring that you get invited to the meeting before the meeting.
Yes.
And so once you get invited to the meeting before the meeting, now you're a part of the decision making. Now you're a part of knowing what's going to really happen. You're a part of the forecast process. And so I would encourage somebody to really start having a self-awareness before you have a situational awareness.
Ooh.
Before you have a relational awareness. Like, have that awareness of yourself. Paul said examine yourself first. And so once you examine yourself and you realize that I am working to speak better, I am working to speak the word of life, I am working to encourage people. If it's not positive, then it shouldn't even be coming out of my mouth. It shouldn't even be attached to my thinking, because you're going to attract the things that you're saying. You're going to attract the things that you're speaking.
Harry, you said so much there, and I'm just gonna pull off here. You said something out this week to me and another brother that we're close to, and you said life is kind of like an elevator. When you're going to another level, sometimes you gotta let people off. I was in the hospital the other day, and I was actually going down.
Wow.
And as I was going down, I was looking at my phone, and the elevator opened, and I jumped off. And when I got off, I realized I'm on the wrong floor. I wasn't at the level that I thought I was going to. So the minute I recognized that, I got back on the elevator.
Oh, come on.
There's some of you've gotten off on the wrong floor. And you've gotten off with the wrong people. And you're not on the floor that you hit when you were making your move. And so what happens is, the minute that you recognize it, you got to get back on the elevator and move to the level of your destination. Some of us get off on the wrong level, and we entertain the wrong people, and we entertain the wrong conversation, and we allow ourselves to engage in a place that we didn't even belong. The minute I recognized, oh, this is not the ground floor, this is this floor, I looked around and said, oh, I don't belong here.
Come on.
You got to recognize where you don't belong and where other people don't belong. And I came to meet somebody and tell you, your awareness has to be so keen that the minute you recognize that you are not in the environment or the atmosphere for your elevation and success, that you get back to moving, because the awareness is going to get you to the place where you win the war. So listen, war words, we got to have affirming words, we got to have action words, and we got to listen for awareness words so we know who should be around and what we shouldn't be around. Listen, man, build my bridge, share this video, subscribe to this podcast. Harry Dent is the host. I'm Zach Bruce, I'm the bridge builder. Hope this impacts and changes your life.